Have you ever wanted to make a difference in the world, but you weren't quite sure how to start, or maybe even felt a little overwhelmed by all of the big problems out there? Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Dr. Derek Jones with the Center for Innovation and Change at the University of Evansville, and in this video, we're going to take you step by step through the process of finding and defining a meaningful, manageable problem that you can solve to make the world a better place. So let's go. Do you ever look out at the world and wish that it could be just a little bit better than it is right now? Maybe even a lot better? If so, that's great, because real positive change is possible, but it needs your energy, heart, and talent to happen. But it's one thing to wish that the world was better, and quite another to figure out how you can help. Because a lot of humanity's most pressing problems are big, complex, and downright impossible for a single person to solve. And when you start looking, you'll notice that there's never just one big problem, but a whole swarm of big, messy, interrelated challenges out there. And as you stare at that growing mass of awfulness, you might feel like doing what most people do: look away. It's too big, too difficult, too everything. And you're just one person, so it might feel hopeless to even try. That feeling has a name: despair, and it really sucks. Not only does it feel awful, but it tricks you into thinking that you can't make a difference. But here's the thing, it is a trick. Your brain is trying to take the easy way out of a hard problem. Don't let it. But to break through that mental block, you're going to need to prepare. And that's where we can help, by showing you ways to carve that big mess of bad stuff into bite-sized problems that you can solve. Okay, so where do we start? The good news is that there are plenty of helpful resources out there to get you started on choosing a problem to focus on. One of my favorites is the UN Sustainable Development Goals list, which will give you 17 different possible starting points. For the sake of example, I'll pick goal number 2, zero hunger. Ugh, that's big. I don't have any business or product ideas that would eliminate all global hunger. If you do, why are you still watching this video? Get out there, save the world. But the rest of us will probably need to shrink this problem down to a more manageable size. One way to start would be to chunk that problem up into a few smaller sub-problems. So we might ask, what are some of the contributing causes of global hunger? Unsurprisingly, there are a lot of different ones to consider. And that might make it seem like things are getting messy again. But keep in mind that each of those contributing problems is slightly smaller than the original. And also remember, your job is just to tackle one part of that problem, not the whole thing. So how do we decide which sub-problem to run with? And how do we shrink it down to size? So here's a list of 5 questions that will help you pick and refine your problem. First, do I care about this problem? Second, do I see a small version of this problem where I live or in the community that I aim to help? Third, can I narrow down my target population? Fourth, can I figure out why these people are suffering from this problem? And fifth, can I state this problem in a single sentence? Let's take them in order. Now, that first question might seem kind of cruel. Who wouldn't care about all of these things? But here's the thing. No matter what problem you address, you'll be working very hard on it for quite a while. So if you don't find the problem intrinsically interesting or the work genuinely inspiring, you're probably not going to follow through on it when things inevitably get tough. So you want to find a problem that really fires you up, not just something that you know someone ought to address. Remember, you're not alone, and people get fired up about different things. So find a problem that you are truly passionate about so that you'll carry out the work. And trust that someone else will get excited about the things that are important but that don't necessarily excite you. With that in mind, let's move on to step 2. Try to find a small version of the problem in the community that you mean to help. Now, what we're doing is trying to determine the scope of our problem, how broad or how narrow we want its focus to be. Problems with narrower scopes are easier to solve, but they can have less impact. Problems with broad scopes are more impactful, but are harder to solve. So if your problem was solve world hunger, that's a huge scope, and it would be very impactful if you pulled it off, but for the same reason, you're unlikely to do so. On the other hand, if your problem was solve your friend Greg's hunger, That's a very easy problem to solve. Just give Greg a burrito or something. But, of course, that solution doesn't fix very much, grateful as Greg might be personally. So in choosing the scope of your problem, you need to strike a balance between impact and doability. Focusing on a particular community will also help you shrink the scope of your problem. For example, say that I want to address the problem of hunger, and I want to focus on my neighborhood specifically. I don't happen to live in a war zone, thankfully, so I probably don't need to look at addressing conflict-based causes of hunger. Now, that doesn't mean that I couldn't focus on malnutrition in war zones, but that's a different project. If my interests lie at home, then I can rule out a few options. Once you've identified a community, it's time to do some detective work. Go looking to see how your problem impacts your community. Ask friends and family what they've seen, heard, and know about the topic. Search online for nonprofits and government agencies in the area who work on it every day. And as you talk to more people, take note of the patterns in what they say. This will help you ensure that the problem you eventually try to solve is relevant to the people you want to help. Let's say that I discover that some people in my community don't have easy access to nutritious food, and I want to do something about that. That is a much more manageable problem than global hunger, but we can refine it even more. To do that, let's move on to step 3. Consider identifying a particular segment of the population that you'd like to help. Are particular groups of people uniquely impacted by this problem? Is it children, seniors, single parents, refugees, teenagers, homeless people, left-handed people? Try to narrow your problem even further. If you're having a hard time choosing, here or at any other point in this process, just make a note of some of your other options. Remember, you can always come back to them if what you choose here ends up not being the project that you'd hoped for. So now you've arrived at a manageable problem, but before you run off and solve it, let's be sure we're focused on the root of that problem and not just a symptom or side effect. Step 4 of our process is to ask, why are these people having this problem? Any problem has lots of possible causes, and those causes likely have their own causes and so on, so channel your inner 2-year-old and just keep asking why until you've found the root of your problem. So in my example, I've narrowed the problem scope to senior citizens living in my community who have trouble accessing healthy food. That's a nicely sized problem. But why do they have it? There's a grocery store 2 miles from where many seniors in my area live, but they don't go. Well, why not? Maybe because they have trouble getting there. But why would they have trouble? Perhaps it's too far to walk and they don't feel comfortable driving through downtown traffic to get there. Now, if that's right, my hunger issue is really a mobility issue. I need to find ways to help seniors in my community get to healthy food, or help to get the food to them. My odds of successfully solving this problem just went way up, and now I'm just about ready to start brainstorming solutions. Okay, so if you've made it this far, you've found a workable, clearly defined problem. Things have gone from impossible to possible, and that's huge. Now you just need to clearly state the problem in a way that will guide your future planning. You can use this template for your problem statement. So, for my example case, my problem statement might be, senior citizens in my city need access to nutritious food, but they can't access it because they find the process of driving to the grocery store intimidating. That may have seemed like a lot of work for one little sentence, but that sentence is the seed of a project that could change the world. And now that you have a clear focus on a fixable problem, you can start brainstorming solutions for it. And good news, we have tricks for that as well. So stay tuned for our next video, where we'll see how you can channel your unique talents and interests to create unique solutions for big problems in your community.